Welcome to Talking Textiles. I'm Donato Faroli, a member of the ATA, and I work in technical sales and product development for Aerostructures American Technologies. The goal of this podcast is to get to know the wide variety of positions and markets that make the advanced textile world turn. We will be talking to professionals in different roles throughout this series to help inspire the next generation of textile professionals and anyone interested in learning about others' journey in the world of textiles. ATA offers advanced textiles content throughout the year, including the upcoming ATA Expo, taking place November 5th through 7th in Indianapolis, Indiana. Expo is the place where the industry stakeholders and leaders connect, discover, source to grow their business. Please visit textiles.org/events to learn more. On today's episode, the topic is young leadership in the textile industry. Myself, along with James Dillport, Vice President of Maple Leaf Canvas, Jason Strasum, Managing Director of TechKnit Industries, and Kyle Van Dam, owner of Marine Tops Unlimited, will be sharing about our experience as the next generation of textile leadership. And now, let's talk textiles. First of all, for those of you I don't know, nice to meet you guys. I'm Donato. I've met James at ATA, but I don't think I've met Kyle or Jason yet. So I think what we should probably do is maybe go around the horn, give a little background on ourselves, if that's cool with you guys.
Yeah, so it's Jason Storozin. I am in the family business. We manufacture industrial textiles in Montreal. So we're warp knitters. So actually, my background was in banking. I worked as a business banker for TD Bank for 10 years, and I've been here for 10 years now. So I know I don't look that old, but I guess it's all the running. But yeah, so we're warp knitters. We manufacture for agriculture, construction, chainsaw workers. We make the stuff they put in the pads to protect people from chainsaws, the guys that go up in the trees. I noticed some of you do canvas or boating, marine stuff or outdoor stuff. So we make a lot of shade cloth also for shade structures, outdoor structures, a lot of agricultural netting for organic farmers so they don't have to spray pesticides. The construction netting that you see on scaffoldings, we make that construction netting as well. So we're a niche family run operation. We do a lot of custom stuff, a lot of R&D for our customers. And yeah, that's basically what we do. We're in Montreal, we're in Canada, and so far we're okay with the tariffs. I know that's not what this is about, but just to make everyone, I'm sure everyone's affected one way or another. So far, so good for us. Happy to be here. I'm the next generation in leading the way here in our company, and that took place maybe 6-7 months ago. So with the transition, so I'm happy to be here and to share. Thanks for having me.
Can I ask you a quick question? How did the
Yeah.
family draw you out of banking back into the craziness of a family business?
I actually drew myself in. I don't know. I left the bank in TD Bank in Montreal. There's only a certain amount of higher level jobs, I think, because we're smaller in Montreal. The head offices for all the banking is usually in Toronto. All the banks have their offices there. I don't know. I was looking for a job actually. My father's like, "Come here." I came here for a bit. I was supposed to stay for like a couple of months, maybe 6 months, a year max. And then I just ended up sticking around. And family business is definitely challenging. At times, there's challenges for sure, but I stuck it out, and we've been growing, and we've been working hard at it for the last couple of years, and we finally transitioned in October. That took 3 years. That's a whole other can of worms, but it's been fun. It's fun. Look, we have 22 employees. And it's fun. There's never a dull moment, I'll tell you that. Textiles or not textiles, even in a small business or family business, there's something to do all the time. There's always action.
So yeah, it sounds a lot like mine. I'm gonna let Kyle and James talk before I go. So, are you in a shop right now, Kyle? Is that the shop in the background?
Yeah, so I'm in our storage building back behind our shop actually because our shop is busy going on right now. And even being in my office, I'm sure other people, it's a shared office, so people would be coming and going and it wouldn't be good for podcast recording. So I decided to come back here and somewhere where I can find a little bit of quiet here and still get some Wi-Fi. But yeah, so I'm Kyle Van Dam. I am third generation owner along with my dad still involved in our business called Marine Tops Unlimited. We do mostly custom. It's all marine style work. It's custom enclosures, covers, whether they be pontoon covers, cockpit covers, more of a mooring cover, travel covers. We do all that kind of stuff, and then marine flooring as well as upholstery. So we do kind of all the different type of stuff for the marine side of things. We're based out of central Wisconsin, just west of Oshkosh, Wisconsin, for anybody that might know where that is, where Oshkosh Bagosh Kids Clothes started. And then we have another kind of two satellite shops in northern Wisconsin and one in our capital city of Madison, Wisconsin, that are both about an hour and a half, 2 hours away. And we produce all of their canvas sewn goods here. They do their own upholstery and their own marine flooring, their own repairs, things like that. So anything from enclosures and cockpit covers we produce here. We're kind of the production facility in the bigger shop. So we've got 6 folks here, including myself. So not a real big shop, but as far as custom marine canvas shops go, we are pretty big because most of them are 1 or 2, maybe 3 people,
Oh,
kind of the norm. So yeah, we've been in business since '82, and we're big. We're a big part of the Marine Fabricators Association, which is one of the divisions, obviously, of the ATA. So I get over to, we do the MFA conference every year, but probably every 3 or 4 years, I try to get to the ATA Expo, which I'm planning to be there this year again. So hopefully that all goes well and nothing gets on the schedule in the way of that. But yeah, that's kind of our Jason. I gotta say, from being from Montreal, I didn't really hear any like real crazy French accent. I just figured you'd be like thick French accent.
No, I speak French fluently, but I'm Anglophone. My parents are English. I was brought up in an English household, but I went to French school and I'm 100% bilingual.
Awesome. Yeah, I've got
Yeah.
my dad's actually a Canadian citizen. He was born in Winnipeg and moved to the States
Okay.
when he was 2. So
Yeah.
he's still only a Canadian citizen because he just refuses to go spend time to get his American citizenship as U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
My grandma and grandpa had been they lived over in Kelowna, actually over on the west side.
Oh, nice.
They kind of did 6 months in each area. So I've been up to more Western Canada, not as much Eastern Canada, but
Yeah. Western Canada is good for skiing. I've been there too. Also, East is good too. We have good
yeah,
skiing. Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
James, tell us, you're the only one crazy enough to not join a family business. So
That's right. That's right. So my name's James Delport. I'm the vice president of Maple Leaf Awning and Canvas in Central Arkansas, in Sherwood, near Little Rock. Yeah, not a family business. So our owners are silent as far as the day to day. So I run the day to day of the company. We cover the whole state of Arkansas. We branch out into some of our neighboring states. We manufacture and install fabric and metal awnings, canopies, walkway covers, predominantly shade solutions for more so the commercial sector. We still do a little bit of residential work, but primarily commercial. I've been running the company for 7 years, and I'm the chairman of the PAMA board, Professional Awning Manufacturers Association.
I almost don't want to give my intro because you're leading me into the next topic we're going to talk about, which is talent and how to get guys like you involved, which is the hardest thing. I'm going to do a brief. My name is Donato Fraioli. I'm the 3rd generation owner of Asadi. We build the air inflated structures all over the world. NFL teams, MLS teams, industrial applications. Blessed to build the largest sports dome in the world this year and the largest industrial dome in the world this year. So it's been a crazy but good run with the family. I've been doing this. When it's a family business, you do it from day one. You're there, but I've been doing this full time since getting my master's. So 7, 8 years now in the ship, running the ship the last maybe 5. We love what we do. And if we can get on to this next topic, I'd be happy. So if you don't mind, James, I'll start with you. We are all, let's call it insiders of the family. How do we get guys like you? You not only are in the business, right? You're not only now running the business, but you're involved in an activity like ATA and a board position. What drew that interest?
Yeah, I guess that's an interesting one because obviously industry-wise, majority of the leaders within these companies are owners or multiple generation owners. I think that prior to myself coming on board, the owners of Maple Leaf did a good job on staying silent, that their setup, actually, whenever they bought into it about 12 years ago, their long-term goal was not being involved in the day-to-day. So I would say a lot of what they set up prior to me coming on board was conducive with having a non-owner operator. As far as what I guess potentially attracted me to the industry, at the time, it was a relatively small business. Obviously, we're still small, but we have doubled in revenue over the past 7 years that I've been at the helm. And that's a positive. But so my prior experience before coming to Maple Leaf was a similar setup as far as a small operation where I was kind of the main guy, completely different industry. And I mean, I guess it was just kind of luck of the draw whenever I came across the opportunity and ultimately accepted the position. And then I've taken it on my shoulders to run it, grow it, and be successful. And that's worked well in tandem with our owners because they don't have to be involved. And obviously, we have a level of trust that allows for me to run it and make decisions on behalf of the company, ultimately for the growth and betterment of the company.
What keeps you incentivized to align your goals with ownership's goals? Is there something particular
Sure.
they do for you?
Yeah, so I get a pretty significant piece of year-end profit. So our goals are pretty well aligned on that. Obviously, the better that the company does, the better that, me personally, the better that I do from a financial standpoint. So even though I currently don't have actual ownership in the company, I would say our goals are aligned in a way that I consider myself an owner in the sense of making the best day-to-day decisions for the company.
Now, Kyle, so you got a 6-man, very specialty shop. Have you guys hired anybody recently? Is it like when I came in, it was there was the old crew, right? And then I started bringing in the new crew. What's it like for you?
Yeah, we hired a newer guy now, probably about 3 years ago, we're heavy into doing things. We did things manually as far as our patterning process for 30 something years. And then about maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago, we got into doing things digitally, started treading into that pond and ended up just diving full in and quite quickly realized I do a lot of our 3D CAD design work. And then when we get something
Really?
flattened down to 2D, I hired a guy to do that kind of stuff. And he had a CAD background. And so, yeah, he's been coming into the industry. It's a very specialized industry that really to learn the whole thing, in my opinion, takes at least a decade for anybody. I just don't think you pick up the full industry and everything that goes along with it, maybe ever, but for sure for about a decade. So he's still learning, but he's coming along really good. And he's been a great hire for us. We're probably going to look to hire some more folks soon. We've got sewers here, like most people have when they're sewers or with their sewers. We've got sewers that are like in their late 60s, almost approaching 70, and they love working here. But we talk with them monthly, pretty much, just to see how things are going and how as long make sure they're not
You
also.
replace that. How do you replace that? That's an impossible amount of knowledge and skill.
Yeah, it's difficult. Our big thing is when we've gone digital and started doing things with CAD, we've been doing things where we've got a plotter, but eventually we want to upgrade to a cutter pretty soon. We've been doing so many other things by like building a new shop, buying a new work van, built this back building, and a lot of different capital projects that have been kind of slowing buying a cutting table. But we've been doing a lot of things to make it so the sewing portion of it is a little more cut and dry, laid out, and not as much thinking. It's just putting pieces together that are all labeled, and a lot less training needed. You just need to have some skill to sew. Whereas when we were 10, 15, 20 years ago, there was the sewers really needed to know what was going on with everything. And not that they don't now, but they don't need to have that level of information. So onboarding folks, a new sewer would be a lot easier at this point. So that's kind of how we're trying to set it up. So even if someone's not a sewer at all and wants to try it, we could get them behind a machine, get them comfortable with it, get that skill at least set up and honed pretty well, and then they should be able to kind of go from there.
And kind of trial by fire type of deal. You throw them in there and say, let's give this a go.
Yeah, kind of. If they're not, it's one thing in being a home sewer, like most of you guys have worked behind a sewing machine or work with them. At a home machine is a totally different thing than an industrial sewing machine. They're a different beast, same monster, different beast. I think something like that they say. So I guess it's just you got to give them a try at it, see how they do. We have a little bit of a little test sewing project that we always give them, and you can pretty quickly see if someone's anywhere near worth investing time into, or if they're just not their thing, and you won't ever get somewhere with them, I guess.
And what about you, Jason? How are you bringing in talent? And what is your strategy as you grow the business?
HR is tough, man. I'm not gonna lie. I came from banking. I didn't have any experience in HR. And then before COVID, I would post a job, let's say for a machine operator or engineer or something on Indeed, and I would get hundreds of views, like 800 views, 115 applicants. And then COVID happened, and it was like 10 views and like 2 applicants, and both applicants were like from India or something, so they weren't even in North America. So I started working with an agency, actually an employment agency, who a friend recommended, and he's based in Montreal, and he's helped me tremendously to find operators. A lot of people from Algeria, Tunisia, and that's what I started to do post COVID. That's for machine operators. Also, something that I could relate to what Kyle was saying is this for us, it's the same thing. We have to get them on the floor to work on a textile or warp knitting machines. You need at least 6 months before you could really be independent, how to identify defects, mark defects in the manufacturing process, fill out the QC, cut the rolls, through everything. It's funny also what you had said, Donato, was like, I brought new ideas, and a lot of the people here, a lot of the team here are people that I found, and it's like you walk out on the floor, it's quiet, everyone's doing their jobs, there's not too much excitement. Whereas when I started here, people were fighting, there was all kinds of stuff. But also, I don't think like I could afford personally to invest too much energy into someone that's not receptive or doesn't want to learn. We have jobs if people want to learn, and we're very fast now at deciding if someone's good or not. Usually we could actually do it in a couple of days, whereas we used to do trial periods of a week, 2 weeks, a month. And
You just know,
you
like,
just know, you see the guys, you see the way they move on the floor, the way they're active, the way they look at the machine, whereas someone might be sitting on his phone, whereas some people, you just see their engagement. The level of engagement is different. Someone who's interested, the other day, I'm in my office, the doorbell rings, I go to the front, and there's this Indian gentleman. He said, I have a kid and I'm really looking for a job. And we actually had an opening. So I said, okay, come in for a couple of days, let's see. And he's been here 3 months already. And I haven't heard anything bad about him, which is good because usually they get me involved when things are not going so well. But he's like he works hard. They're working him in different departments, so he's like cross training. So it's great. You could just tell. I guess you could just tell it comes down to that. I feel like I'm talking a lot, but on another subject, we also have engineers, warp knitting textile engineers. They're from Iran. So one of them was actually a professor in textiles in Iran for 20 years. He ran production of a couple of textile companies, and he was also a professor in university. So these guys, one of them grew up in this business since he's 10 years old, literally walked into it at 10 years old. So the amount of they could dismount machines, they could put new machines up, they could balance the machines, they could work on the camshafts, they could really do everything. The gearboxes, these guys are amazing. So guys like that, it's a little bit different. Usually they find us because they want to come to Canada for whatever reason from their own countries. And if you Google warp knitting, you're going to get us most likely. There's like maybe five American companies plus us. So there's not too many options. So if you want to work in warp knitting and you want to come to Canada, it's just us. So they find us, and yeah, and now actually I'm trying to find an engineer. I found a warp knitting engineer who has a master's in textile technology in India, and I've been trying to bring him in to Canada, but I don't know how it is for you guys, but they've become harder here on bringing in people. It's tricky, like with immigration and stuff. Like I have a lawyer that does stuff for us, but it's tricky. All this to say, we try to give a nice working environment, and the training curve is just too long to have people come and go. We're not a revolving door.
how do we, and maybe I'll spread it to them and then come back to them. And I think that's a big thing is like, what do you do to keep the people around? Because like you said, we all spend years, months. I honestly think years. I don't think I get any production from anybody, real production that for a year. I always find the year to 18 months is when the hockey stick starts to take off.
Yeah, and I saw your website. It seems like you do some pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, all
Yeah.
of you, but especially Donato, your stuff is nuts. Like indoor hockey, like I see the snow around, it looks like Canada.
We have stuff in Canada. We work in Canada.
I'm sure.
So Kyle, how do you keep these guys and girls around? James, same to you.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I had a sewer that was with us 30 years. I think she was with us a couple of years after my dad started the business. And the other one that is maybe in her mid 60s, 66 or so, her name's Sue, and she's currently with us still and has been with us for maybe about 20 years. Our one that's even a couple of years older yet, in her late 60s, Bev, her name is, and she's been only with us about 4 or 5 years now, I think. And we had put out a job interview. I think this one was just like something on Facebook we put, or maybe a hearsay type of thing. And she, the weirdest story, I always love telling it. She had grandkids at our local family aquatic center, and she came in her bathing suit at 60 some years old
That's a first. That's a first.
with she's still wet. She's sitting on the chair getting it all wet and show it. And my dad and I were just looking at each other like, oh my goodness. But then she started sewing and she's fun to have around and she does great work. So we saw pretty quickly, oh, wait a minute, hold on. This is weird, but like she actually does really nice work. And so she's been a great addition to our team. But yeah, keeping people long term, first of all, finding them is tough, but then keeping them, especially if you find out and like you guys all said, you find out pretty quickly, I think this person's got what it takes. And this person I need to keep, they're going to be an integral part of the business, especially in a shop like ours that currently only has 6 employees. If I lose one person, that's like, what is the math there? Like
80% almost,
18,
basically.
17, 18% of my whole workforce, you know? So keeping people around, we built a new shop in 2018 and it's, as far as other marine canvas shops go, I mean, just once really because it's so new, but it's really lit brightly. We've got music all throughout. It's clean. It's well set up. Plenty of space for folks to not work on top of each other. And I think some things like that are really helpful. I think having a great culture and making sure you make everybody feel like they want to buy in, not necessarily always that you have to make them all feel like an owner, but they have some sort of skin in the game where they feel like they're putting their name just as much as ownership and the business name is on all the products. They're taking pride in their work. It matters to them. They want to come to work every day and they're excited about the challenges. Not every day is great, of course. We all have those days where we wish it's like, oh man, 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm ready to go home kind of thing. But yeah, I think that's the big thing is you have to create an environment and a culture within a business that is, you know, engaging, intriguing, and folks want to keep coming back and they enjoy their job. You know, a job doesn't need to be something, or a career doesn't need to be something that you enjoy more than your hobbies. But we can't have it be something where all of our folks are like, gosh, I got to go to work again today. I just can't wait for the weekend so I don't have to work.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our big thing, I think. And that's definitely something that I try to bring to the table with how we set up our shop and our business.
James, give me something tangible you do for the team to keep them motivated and in there. I like the environment. I believe in that, by the way, 100%. Kyle, like the shop, the lighting, the environment is actually really big, especially in these days where everyone wants to work from home. You got to make it a good environment.
I would say some of my items echo what Kyle was saying. I too have a small team. There's 10 of us. So one person goes MIA, that's 10% of my workforce. As far as tangible items, I think something that we've done to set ourselves apart from like our local competition would be our pay and our benefits package. Obviously, at the end of the day, that's vital. We pay much more than any of the local competition. None of them have any benefits. We offer a full benefits package. We've added extra holidays. We typically try to do a few team appreciation days throughout the year. Nice clothes provided to the team, really nice brand new trucks. So we would put them in nice pieces of equipment. I would say as far as tangible, I think that would kind of wrap up our tangible items that definitely set us apart from the local competition and provide a better quality of life for my team. All of them make a living wage that they can support families on. And we don't want to be as much of a stepping stone, especially to your point. Typically about a year in is whenever we really start seeing the value of our team. I would say that we've historically struggled with retention, specifically on the installer side, because they are on the lower side of the pay scale. So some of these newer benefits and additional holidays and team days helped reduce that.
Now, let me ask you something again from a tangible item. When you talk installer, are they sleeping away or are they just driving to the site?
So it depends. Majority of the time they are home at the end of the day. Typically each month we might have a few projects that require out of town travel. In those situations, obviously we cover all expenses associated with that out of town trip and then provide them per diem also. Used to, we would pay for dinner, but we've realized that they prefer per diem, where if they want to just purchase their own sandwiches or something cheap, then essentially that's more money that's going in their pocket as well for being out of town. But I always put them in a hotel that I would be comfortable staying at. I'm not putting them in the Roach Motel down the road or anything. I think treating them like I would want to be treated or providing accommodations that I would be okay with. We have a lot less pushback with the out of town travel. because of those items.
I honestly, and being transparent, I actually give a little extra. But my travel's 99% of the time on the road. It's not at home. When you go on the road, you definitely earn quite a bit more than when you're in the shop, because when those days when they're on the road, because it's a big ask, right? You're leaving
Oh
your
yeah,
family.
definitely. Especially for the lengthier ones. If it's just like one night for a trip, that's typically not that bad. But whenever it's like, hey, you're going to be out of town this whole week,
No, I'm
obviously that
sending
doesn't.
guys out of town for months, sometimes 2, 3
Oh
months.
yeah, no.
Yeah,
See, we
they're
don't
big
have
trips.
anything that lengthy, thankfully.
No, and that's a challenge. Like I see it as you guys talk, we each have our little nuanced challenges of what we deal with in these different businesses. Be a heck of a lot easier to work for Google, but there's something rewarding, I think, about what each of us do at the end of the
Oh,
day.
absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about just general obstacles. I kicked it off, Jason, with the tariffs. Pretty good. I know I'm just banging my head against the wall. How does that impact you in your specific industry, and what are you doing about it?
Very, very gratefully, there aren't any in place for us now because we're fully manufactured in Canada.
Okay.
So we buy the yarn from a Canadian company, we manufacture here, and we sell directly into the US. They buy some raw materials, the yarn manufacturer overseas, but they have exemptions because there just isn't any fiber production in Canada. So you're able to get exemptions. I've been to the US 5 times since October. Since I
Okay.
transitioned into the company, I mean, travel, I brought one of our employees to China, first time in Asia for a textile show in Shanghai. That was pretty cool and opening, I have to say. I made a lot of good contacts. I bought a lot of parts, machine parts, even a machine while we were there. So that was, and I met some yarn suppliers. So that was nice. I've been to the US 5 times since October to visit our customers. It's been a roller coaster. I'm not going to lie. Tariff on, tariff off, tariff on, tariff off. Finally announced the tariffs. And then it was, you guys are okay in Canada. Like not for aluminum and lumber and car parts. Those are still on. But for us, he didn't put the general tariff on everything. So what we did as a proactive approach, we visited our customers in the US. We do a lot of business in the US, and we visited our major customers, even some small ones, and we just wanted to show them that we were partners with them and that we're going to do everything we can to really get through this. One of the things we did, a tangible thing we did, is we offered to split the tariffs up to 3 months for some of the customers. So that would have been 25% tariff. That would have been 12.5% each, which is very big because I don't think anybody has 25% margin to give away. You know what I mean? So it's serious when you're talking these type of numbers. It's not a joke. So everybody was receptive. Everyone was appreciative. We had some customers that cut back on their orders, not because of the tariffs, but just because they had too many goods. And the customers that normally give us like 4 or 5 months of orders out, 4 or 5 months of orders, because we plan production and everything, they were cutting it down to 2 months. So those were the ones that we had to go see and we had to sit with. We went there. I went to North Carolina. A lot of our textile industry is big in the Carolinas. So we went to North Carolina and everybody appreciated us coming. We took them out for dinner. We showed our appreciation for our customers. We showed our support. And that's it. Listen, right now there isn't any. So that's how I guess I want to say overcame them. If they were in place right now, the conversation might be a little bit different because our customers, they can't replace us so easily. I know you guys sound like you're pretty niche in what you guys do. Like for us, they can't buy from China what they're buying from us. Even from another American company, it takes years and years to develop the stuff that we're doing. So, anyways, but we don't take advantage of that. We're very appreciative of any business we get, and that's why we went to really show face with our customers. And they were very, very appreciative. I have 3 young kids at home, so I'm not big on traveling in general without my family, but I had to do this and everyone was happy about it, customer wise.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm on a meeting right now. This is my grandmother. It's a family business. She's behind here giving
Wow,
me a wave.
that's amazing.
She loves it. She's been working with my grandfather since she was 22 years old. So, when he's founded the business, like, she's been a part of it. They come in, and my grandfather, to this day, he invented our whole product. Everything you see in an air structure, my grandfather invented.
Wow.
And so he loves it. He still comes in. He sat me down. He said, "We need more production now. You're selling a lot. We need to get more production." It's an amazing, as crazy as the family business thing is, nothing makes me happier than working with those and the old guys are never happy with what the young guys are doing. It could be 10 times better, but you're falling short. You're falling short, but it's good
Yeah.
and it's a joy to be with an 83-year-old guy who still's got fire in his bones, and his wife, who has again helped him through the whole from nothing to what it is today. It's always something good. So go ahead, Kyle, James, how you dealing with these crazy tariffs?
Well, for us, I would say we're so much more towards the end user side of it because we're the small shop making the end user type of applications. So we're not the manufacturer, we're not even the distributor. So I would say I've heard very little in the US from our distributors on tariffs. A couple emails. We mostly work with they're both big distributors, but one of them is we get most of our stuff through. And then another large distributor, we buy some things through and mostly the holes of what the other one doesn't have. But yeah, most of our stuff, I haven't heard much on price increases. A couple emails from some of the other distributors that we work with very little, our third, fourth, fifth options maybe. But yeah, for us, it hasn't been too huge as much it is without trying to keep politics all aside. I think a lot of these tariffs in the US or from the US and going around the world are just political posturing, trying to get these deals worked out or sweetening the pot. And I think our political administration is just that's how they're using them. I'm of the sort of opinion that they're trying to use these to get then rid of them so we don't have to use them and have some new trade agreements put in place. Obviously in the US our political landscape is quite divided at this point. So you talk to someone else, they're going to say something totally different kind of thing.
I think
But
Christine will kill me if we go on a political rant right now, though. I do agree. So
yeah.
we're just gonna leave that there. What is the biggest obstacle for you right now? If the tariffs aren't impacting you, which for me it is because I buy from a lot of different sources around the globe, what
Sure.
is the biggest problem right now not problem in the business, but what makes you every day?
Yeah, honestly, it's for us up in Wisconsin, similar up in Canada type of thing, but we're in a seasonal business, so we have people that really use their boats. There's a faction of the boaters around by us that are 3 month boaters, really the school summer when their kids or their family is off for the summer, that's when they use their boat. But September 1st, it's basically Memorial to Labor Day for them. And then there's like myself, I'll have my boat in the water 6 to 7 months throughout the year, and I'll go boating early and I'll go boating late. We make boat canvas, so that's the whole idea is we can boat when it's colder and put a sweatshirt on, have some fun still, enjoy the water. But we're still seasonal, so
Get
much.
that reach though, because I'll tell you this, my dad has a boat and we're down here off Long Island Sound.
Mhm.
And to find a guy to do upholstery, and you're right, it was exactly what you said. It was a one-man band.
Mhm.
He started with him in November, and then it was July when he could take on the boat, right? Or like take on the upholstery. It was
Sure.
almost a 1 year process to get on this guy's thing. But I got to imagine there's southern places with your guys' type of skill that you can tap into.
Yeah, there are definitely, but I guess we don't really do that. We try to keep everything in house as much as we can. Southern places, especially in Florida, which is probably the biggest market for marine
Yeah.
canvases, they're more year round. If anything, they're busier during the winter when folks maybe aren't using their boats as much. But for us, boats go into big heated buildings or outside and they're shrink wrapped. I'm sure you guys have seen that kind of stuff, but so yeah, that's probably our biggest challenge and it helps with back behind me. You guys can probably see that big RV back there. That's
Yeah.
my parents. They take that thing to Florida for about 4 months. They're snowbirds now, so they're here for about 8 months of the year when our busy time, and they're two of our employees, and then they're gone during the winter. They just started doing that a couple of years ago, and that helps us a ton because I don't really need my mom and dad here from a production standpoint, I should say. Didn't mean it that way. But from a production standpoint, I don't really need them here during the winter because we can breathe, relax a little bit more. We're still going 40 hours a week, doing a lot of work inside heated storage buildings. But during the summer, this time of year is our big busy time, a big run up to Memorial Day and a big run up to 4th of July. And then we start to plane off a little bit. But I mean, I couldn't possibly work enough. I could work 80 to 100 hours a week and I still wouldn't feel like I'm catching up this time of year. So that's probably our biggest challenge. And I don't think it's actually we're less seasonal than we were, more year round than we were probably 10 years ago. But it's still a challenge. It's still, how do we have enough staff during the summer And then you can't just lay people off and expect them to keep coming back every year. So you have to find ways to keep them 40 hours a week. And I wish I could just get it through all of our boaters' heads around here that they should call while their boat's in storage and we can do all that stuff for them. But I think most boaters around here forget they own a boat until that first 70-degree day. And they're like, oh, remember those 20 things I wanted to do on the boat? And I shouldn't say anything because I'm exactly the same way with my own boats too. So
Human nature. It's human nature.
Yep.
Yeah. You wonder if you could tap into the Florida market somehow, or somehow do an inspection on your customers so that you can sign as they put the boat away, you could sign them up for winter. There's so many things but it's a challenge. And actually we got lucky because some of the long lead items like generators and these projects got bigger. I would say in the 90s, early 2000s were somewhat more seasonal because people could order a building in March and have it there in September. Easy. With all the COVID delays, right? Or like people got used to ordering stuff. Construction managers, everyone said, oh, we got to order stuff a year ahead. So that really smoothed out everything for us. And again, we've been blessed since, that of people just understand, and it helps us greatly to have that system now in place like that. James, what are you fighting with today?
So far, with the start of your conversation being on tariffs, it's affected us a little bit. I think that I've been able to just adjust my quantities or the suppliers that I've been purchasing from to, for the most part, mitigate any significant cost difference there. As far as like overall challenge, I think historically up to current, our biggest challenge is, I would say, just overall the people, being a small team. And I think it was to Kyle's point earlier, one of my employees would be 10% of my workforce, and just staying ahead of any potential departures or staying ahead of growth, just maintaining enough people, enough high quality people to maintain the output that we need for the business. I think that's from the get-go, that's always been one of the biggest challenges for me as the leader of the company.
And are you all outbound like, are you have salespeople, or is it all word of mouth? Like, how does that go for you?
So majority of our business is commercial contractors. So a lot of that's done through like bid boards. Obviously the relationships that have been developed, that's one of my personal focuses. I handle most all of the commercial general contractor sales, which makes up a bulk of our business. I do have a talented sales rep, Ashley. She handles all of our residential, small commercial. So she is out in the field. Typically, customer requests come in through an online form or phone call. We do a bunch of digital marketing to bring that to us. We really don't do a lot of cold calling. Historically, we've tried it. It wasn't as fruitful as just letting it come to us through our marketing campaigns and that kind of thing. The business itself has been in business about 40 years. So even before our current owners purchased it, we're a for an awning company, a household name within the state of Arkansas. So that definitely helps too. But I would say majority of it is coming to us rather than us having to chase it down, which is a blessing.
Any company with longevity who has people coming and knocking on their doors, like you said, a blessing.
Absolutely.
So before we close out, is there anything you guys want to hit on as a group, or?
Donato, you're pretty good at this. Is the first time that you do this, or?
This is my first go at it, but I spend my day talking on the phone. So
Yeah, same here. But you're pretty good. You're pretty good. Thank you. Good job.
I will agree. As someone that does a bunch of these podcasts for the ATA as well, I've done a lot of interviews and stuff. You're doing a fantastic job.
I appreciate it greatly. You guys are great. If we do ATA, we should go out. We should grab a drink. It is so nice to see guys my age on a meeting in the industry. I'm the only guy I know, especially in I'm right outside of New York City. Everyone is in the tech hub. Most of my friends don't even go to work. They like their remote jobs, right? So I live such a unique breed of life, and it's cool getting to network. For me, that's what ATA brings. That it's that networking effect when I can have a problem and call, and I get a lot of problems. So I make a lot of calls. That's what's been awesome. So I'll keep all you guys in mind. And when we go to the show, I'd love to grab a drink.
There's some really cool stuff there. You go to the ATA Expo, and it's just, I remember the first time I went there was when they had it over by headquarters in Minneapolis at the convention center there. And I walked into there and I was just like, holy cow, I was at the last one I was at, I think was Orlando. And that one too, you walk across that like skyway where you can see both sides of it. And it was just like, that was the first time I took my newer guy, Todd. I took him to that too.
Oh, yeah, I remember that actually. We've been exhibiting for the last 10 years, and nice to see what people are doing. So Indianapolis, right? The next one?
Indy.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. So I guess I'll see you guys then.
Guys, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Donato. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Nice to
meet
thank
you
you
guys.
guys.
Have a great one. Thank you for joining us for this episode of ATA Talking Textiles. ATA is a not-for-profit association representing the international specialty fabrics marketplace. Learn more about the events, workshops, and webinars ATA hosts throughout the year at textiles.org/events.